What's up, everybody? Jay Do, live and in living color this Thursday afternoon. You know what it is. It's an Ask Me Anything hour. And on Thursdays, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, that's what we do. We allow the phone lines to open, as it were, on our YouTube channel, often on our TikTok accounts, maybe even Instagram, Facebook, all those great things. But normally we're talking to folks pre-registered on our Zoom channel as well as YouTube. Here at the Cash Compound, we are doing code cracking cash flow for each and every one of you who join. But it's not just me today. My co-host is remote, first ever, ladies and gentlemen, in studio to be remote on an Ask Me Anything as a guest contributor and collaborator here. We have the, ladies and gentlemen, the Denzel. Denzel who? Denzel, see, you think it's a different one, but no. The Denzel is Denzel Rodriguez, ladies and gentlemen. That's who we've got. Very excited to have him in studio, per se, out there. And he is a big dog when it comes to finances, coaching, velocity banking, personal responsibility, fiscal education. And we're so happy to have him promoting something that we're going to be doing over the course of the month of July. Denzel, introduce yourself to everybody. Say, hey, so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me, my friend. Yes, Denzel, not Washington, but Rodriguez, the Spanish version. So happy to be here. I'm excited to speak to your audience for the very first time. Just yesterday, 24 hours ago, around this time, you were on my channel, very first introduction to my audience, and they took you well. It was good comments, it was good feedback. So hopefully we are able to deliver that same, if not more, value here today. So I'm excited. Thank you for having me again.
You're welcome, man. Well, hopefully, I'm glad that I was accepted on your side. I know you're going to be accepted in our audience right here, but I just hope they still accept me after hearing all the good nuggets come from you. They might, I don't know, they may say, hey, we like this guy more and go see you a little bit more often. So we'll see about that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little bit of the background of how I met this cat. And we've been seeing him on YouTube. You've got to go to his channel for sure. And he's got 50,000 folks plus following him on YouTube. He's really built a great content channel there around personal finance strategy. And we decided after we met in February this year, we got to team up on something. So we are here to talk about that for the first time and let everybody know what that something has become. But my brother ran into you, I think, first at the Nelson Nash Institute. So historically called the Infinite Banking Think Tank. But the Nelson Nash Institute is a meeting of the minds and the fellowship around the people who become kind of disciples of this idea of the purity around infinite banking concept. We hear that term a lot. Sometimes it's infinite banking, but we don't put the word concept on it. And that's what Nelson Nash originally came up with. Around 1980, he realized being in deep doo-doo around a financing project, a real estate project. It was upside down at 23%, crazy times around Jimmy Carter. And he was 23%, $500,000 upside down, something crazy. These payments were atrocious. And this was a life insurance agent who got himself into this mess with an investment. And over the course of what he calls the awakening, several months of spending the early morning hours on his knees in prayer, he realized there was something going on in the financial world that nobody ever seemed to notice. But it was right there, plain and simple, in front of everybody. 20 years later, he codified that in a book called Becoming Your Own Banker, and he called his monster something that had been there for 150 years, but nobody was quite talking about or quite understood, was infinite banking, the infinite banking concept. So some of his followers have become some of your leaders and mentors out there, ladies and gentlemen. Some of his followers are us. And we realized and caught on to what was really going on in the banking world, the insurance world, the financing world. And we get a meeting of the minds together. This year was the first time it kind of went out of his hometown, biggest event ever, right outside of Vegas, and boom, we ran into this cat. We saw him, it was like, we know who this dude is. We're gonna take him in the back, beat him up a little bit and steal his followers, something. That's what we thought. And then he said, you know what, a couple months later, we don't have to do that in secret. Let's do it together. Let's actually build this community. And we started to get down this path. So we've been practicing infinite banking. When I say we here at the Cash Compound, I do mean my brother, Jonah, and I. We've been practicing for almost 10 years now. about 9.5 at the time we're recording this. And we've been helping people unlock these secrets and unlock their mind and change their culture for about 7 years. So Denzel, take us back. How did you get introduced into this idea? What was your background? What velocity? How did you make your way to the lunch line? That's where we met. We met in the lunch line. I don't know if where you met my brother, like actually listening to the event, but we were talking over some zucchini, some chicken bake, something like that. So how did you end up getting to where infinite banking was in your purview?
Right. So I got to take you guys back to 2014, leaving out of high school is when I graduated. That's 2014. And I got into sales and marketing shortly after during that summer. And then through bouncing in and out of network marketing companies, MLMs, and steady jobs back and forth in the restaurant business, toward the end of 2017, I attended this real estate investment workshop. And one of the topics that they brought up were the words velocity banking. And so they were telling folks in the room, probably like 30, 50 of us in the room, they mentioned velocity banking, accelerate your debt, pay off your mortgage early, go do all this stuff. Here I am, in my early 20s. I'm like, I don't have a mortgage. I don't have too much debt. But I had some, I had a personal loan, some credit cards, different things like that. And little did I know, I was already doing the concept with a personal line of credit and a credit card. I just didn't know there was a term for it, right? And so I go through this journey of practicing velocity banking, and then somewhere along the way, I stumble on infinite banking on YouTube. But where this gets interesting is I did not know who Nelson Nash was. Becoming Your Own Banker, never read the book up until that point, right? This is 2018. And I fall into the other side where there's these other content creators outside of Nelson Nash and his followers and the people that preceded Nelson Nash, the successors that are now very highly credible in the space. I never met those guys, right? I'm talking to these other internet folks that have these thriving businesses, and they're talking about infinite banking. And they didn't really mention Become Your Own Banker, all this stuff. And so I get intrigued, and I dig a little deeper. And by mid-2018, I get my first policy. And before you know it, I start a YouTube channel. Shortly after losing my primary source of income, this job that I had in the food and beverage industry, I get fired on a Monday. I had a speaking engagement on a Friday in Miami. I recorded that speaking engagement, threw it up on YouTube. The rest is history, right? Fast forward to today, over 50,000+ subscribers, almost 5 million views. And I'm now in millionaire status at 28 years old, and just mind blown from the blessings and the amount of smart, educated, highly respectful people in the industry that took me under their wing, gave me opportunities, put me in front of certain mentors and coaches and education. So what's interesting is I got to learn from both sides, the IBC think tank Nelson Nash community and those that are not in the community. And I got to see the best of both worlds and kind of just put my own little strategy together over the years. And ever since then, I've just been doing my very best to be a servant leader, a man of God, man of faith, and deliver financial education literacy on my YouTube channel. And that led us to having a conversation, meeting in person, as you said, right on the lunch line, where we were like, listen, I don't know what we can do, but I believe we can do something. I look around this room and there's not too many of us that look like us. So if there is one main impactful area that I could deliver, and I think it's in the area of connecting the disconnected to not only the industry of infinite banking from the consumer standpoint, like you just getting a policy and practicing this concept, but what if you actually participated, got in the game, and was an actual producer? What would that look like? So now you're feeding on both ends. And what would it look like if you could get in the room that no one's in right now, that these rooms want to expand. The IBC think tank, they have a desire to expand. They want it. They want to grow. And there's just not a whole lot of content. There's not a whole lot of, I should say, flag carriers that are running out recruiting folks into this particular space. And it's booming right now. Every respectful, dedicated individual that's in the infinite banking world that has made it their entire career is swamped with business. Swamped, like literally. They never not have business going on. Especially if you're seasoned and you're dedicated and you made this your full business. I'm like, wow, there's no competition going on. Everyone's collaborating in this space. Yeah, there's some discourse, some debates, dialogue, and that's natural, some disagreements, but we all seem to agree on the same thing, that everyone should build their own banking system. Everyone should develop this culture of control and liquidity and have options when it comes to how we finance things, right? There seems to be this general understanding, and then you get into the knick-knack details, but man, what an honor it has been on this particular journey, and I just want to see more minorities get in this space, because I'm like, dude, the door's wide open. There's a lot of people in this industry that are retiring their book of business, that are looking for successors. And if you're in your mid-20s, 30s, and you don't know what your main purpose is in life, or you're at a dead-end job, you don't know what's going on, you don't know what's happening in the world, let me tell you, there is security, there is value, there's mentorship, there's training, there's opportunity in the infinite banking world, as we call it. All right, so I'll turn it back to you, my friend.
Yeah, man, I love it. So much in there. So with that, what I want to introduce, and hopefully our producers are ready for it, ladies and gentlemen, what we've come here to talk through and to is a July every single Thursday. This time, 3:30 Eastern, we are going to change over our format from the usual Ask Me Anythings. And today we're promoting something that's going to happen called the Cash Culture Collide. All right, Cash Cultures Collide is what our event is going to be. It is a seminar and workshop talking about the changeover from darkness to light. Now, I'm not talking about skin color, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Denzel says people who look like us. I'm tall, dark, and handsome, and he's doing the best he can out there. But what we're here to promote, my man. So we're gonna drop that link hopefully in our YouTube channel chat right here. So whenever we get to it, hopefully my producers can find it. I don't know where it is, but we'll drop it in the chat, and you can register for this event. We look forward to having you Thursday, starting on July 4th holiday. All Thursdays in July 2024, we will be going through several different episodic features about mindset, around money, around minorities, all those type of things. You know, if you're with the Cash Compound, it's always alliterated, right? So we got a couple things coming to you here: money, mindset, and minorities. It's all going to be in there. And sometimes that minority thing, like Denzel was saying, is physical, is a feature you can see. He and I walked into a space where, when we were talking about financial education, historically, the traditional financial planning market is a bunch of old, bald dudes who don't look like us. And that's fine. God created these guys. However, there's a lot of people coming up these days and having in the information superhighway, like YouTube, like TikTok, like Instagram. We're now talking through this on a subculture level. And that subculture a lot of times is, man, I walk into rooms where I want to talk about money and growth and wealth, and nobody looks like me. I'm trying to figure out where I came from. Why is where I come from so much different than where I'd like to go? Because the people who seem to have the same money mindset as they don't look like the people from my neck of the woods. They don't look like the people from my neighborhood. Is there something missing? Is there something wrong? Am I going to get screwed over because I should not be in this room? But what we find in places like the collaborative world of IBC, if you know those terms, is there's a lot of people helping. There's a lot of people mentoring. There's a lot of people collaborating. So we're very excited, and that's what we're doing for you. We're going to bring you something very special over the course of the month of July, and we've got a couple episodic pieces in those 4 weeks. It is, once again, a free workshop, and we're going to walk and talk you through how we got here. But more importantly, where do you want to go? And how do we get there? We think we can help with that. So Denzel, talk a little bit more. Our followers know probably what we're doing. For those of us who are seeing you for the first time, being introduced to you for the first time here, tell us how you took your information and you started being a leader. Tell us what your business is like and what you normally help people do. We hope you subscribe to his channel, of course, but give us some more details.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I mentioned earlier, after I got fired from my job, I was wrestling between two ideas. Either I go and try and find a new job, and maybe in between I drive some Uber and Lyft, some gig work, or I had been told by many people that I had a good voice and could, maybe start a YouTube channel and share knowledge about money. Most of my friends and coworkers knew that I had an interest in finance. I would bring up topics in the workplace on money, and I would bounce ideas off of, and I would share things that I was. And so every time I would talk about these things, they would just randomly stop me and say, "Hey, you got a good voice. You could, I feel like you'd be on radio, or I feel like I'd hear you on a podcast or YouTube." And then, one day I had a business meeting with someone that actually formulated all these ideas into a blueprint and said, "Denzel, you need to do YouTube. I want you to take a whiteboard and start explaining your concepts, start explaining these things on how you can help folks." And I listened to him. And fast forward to today, he's helped me make over $2 million in the content creator world. And I've been able to build financial success, and I'm on track to doing multiple millions just from that little piece of advice there. Now, in terms of how I do or what I do in this particular space on YouTube, I literally built my YouTube channel based off of the principle of giving. So in my earliest videos, and even still to this day, I would draw out a case study. I would just show people numbers on the board, and I'd start, this is a scenario, a mom of four, three kids, 4 kids, married, widowed, whatever it was, showed their numbers, went over their situation. Here's how much they're in debt. Here's their payments, interest rates, monthly payments, yada, yada. And then I say, here's the strategy that I went over with this mother on a phone call. And here's what we're going to do, right? And if you think I can help you, reach out, send me an email. If you found value in this video, please support this channel financially. And this is going to help me put more free educational content and help you do and have more success in your personal finances. It's as simple as that. It was the principle of giving. In my first year of doing the YouTube channel, I raised over $100,000 from people just giving money on a monthly basis. And I used that money to put together a financial coaching practice, of which I now have today. It's made up of courses. It's made up of group coaching, one-to-one, support, consultations, coaching, strategy, recorded sessions, workshops, seminars, even a live event. I did my first live event last year with a room full of clients. And we spent an entire day together just masterminding over our goals, desires, purpose, God's will for each of our lives, and how we're going to go out into the marketplace and serve people at the highest level, and have this mentality of be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion over the entire earth. Because why not, right? Because we've been designed this way to live in a certain manner. And when we operate in that formula for dominion, for dominance, we're able to show up at the highest level, no matter how old, no matter how young, no matter how skilled, no matter how smart. Like, we're just able to fully operate, overcome these obstacles and challenges. And I realized that personal finance is about 90+% of problems in their lives today, in 2024, and even before I started doing these things. So I just figured, why not get in an industry where it's on everyone's mind? Money. How do I make it? How do I save it? How do I invest it? How do I keep it? How do I spend it? And imagine you being in a position where you don't tell people what to do, but you get to guide them. You get to show them opportunities and options. You get to help them become better stewards and make better decisions with their finances. That's ultimately what I want to see happen for the people that I shepherd over, the people that I manage, the clients, the people that I serve day in and day out in a leadership role. So just throwing it back your way, that's really what it's been over the years. And anyone that is struggling, negative cash flow, paycheck to paycheck, maybe you're not even ready for some of these higher end, maybe advanced, or what would seem to be advanced, infinite banking, velocity banking. Sometimes it's just, we need to have a conversation on your numbers. Where are you coming from? Where you've been? Where you're headed? Where you want to go? And there's so much value in a conversation with your money from an outside source, someone that has no incentive to use against you, to judge you on your current situation.
Did you know that
I get to step into your world as a stranger. You get to reveal all your personal financial information to me in a safe, professional environment over the phone or Zoom. And then I get to step out of your world, hold you accountable until our next interaction where I step back into your world. And every single interaction, you're never going to feel judged or like I have something over you. Oftentimes we go to friends, family, spouse, you tell them something, now they have something on you. And there's some cash culture is in that. There's some cultural things as it relates to money in our own household that honestly keeps us from producing the kind of wealth and abundance that we could have.
That's right.
So being able to seek people out like Jeremiah and myself is one simple step in the right direction.
So
passing it back to you.
Yeah, man. So here's what I have to ask is, how in the world did our culture, I want you to expound on this. We got into it yesterday. I think it's very worthy of a conversation. I think I answered it a little bit, and you posed this, kind of alley-ooped it up to me, posed this question to me, is where did we get off track to where personal finance is so aloof? Why are we looking for a 28-year-old brown dude to walk us through what we should already know? We've got financial advisors out there. We went to school. Maybe we even got a degree after school. So what happened? What is the American dream gone? Did someone steal it? Are we too dumb to figure it out ourselves? Why are we looking to coaches on YouTube? Why are we looking to register for events like this to talk with people when, I'm smart and isn't the things that I'm doing or aren't the ways that I'm going isn't going to set me up for success? Like, what do you have to offer, and how did we get here as a culture?
Absolutely. So I may not get this answer right, but if I had to pinpoint that loaded question there, how did we get here? If we look at the Black and Hispanic community, if you look at a chart at the average median income of the different races, Blacks and Hispanics are at the very bottom. Black people are in last place, and then Hispanics are second to last. But if you really look at the numbers, we're like neck and neck. We're basically the same, in the same position, right? And we've been like this for many years, okay? Now, what's interesting is when we look at every single one of these races, at some point in time, everyone has, you look at every culture, you can make the argument that every single culture has gone through a form of slavery, a time of slavery, a time of persecution or genocide or wars, like you name it. But I analyze certain cultures, like I'll look at the Indian culture, I'll look at Asians, I'll look at Jewish culture, and I'm like, interesting how y'all went through persecution, slavery, dominance, rulership of another nation in all these different periods of time, and you seem to keep thriving, whereas I look at my own and it's like we get 2 steps ahead, something happens to us, but we get sent 15 steps back. We get ahead and we get set back again. And then we get ahead and we get set back. Like, what is going on here? And if I have to pinpoint like one specific location, I'm going to take it to the whiteboard for a second here, is I can't look nowhere else but to say the church.
Mm. Okay, explain.
When I go, when I go, and I've observed different churches before. I've gone to predominantly Black churches. I've gone to Spanish churches. I've gone to predominantly white churches. And there is a topic that gets discussed more than than what happens in Black and Hispanic churches, and that's money. The topic of money, just money, finance, investing, there is a lack of discussion in the church over the topic of money. Yet money is one of the three most popular topics Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, discussed while he was living. And there are arguably 1,000+ scriptures on the topic of money. Yet when I go into a predominantly Spanish church or Black-dominated church, this topic is rarely discussed. And if it is, it becomes a comical conversation, if you know what I mean. It becomes a, it becomes a conversation just on tithing, just on giving, maybe a little joke or two in there, and then we're off to the next subject, hitting another topic. And I've had the privilege and honor to work with many pastors. Most of the pastors I've had the honor and privilege of coaching in their personal finances, they were not doing well financially. They had a ton of debt. And I started to realize, oh, well, that makes sense. If the leader is insecure, uncomfortable discussing a topic that they themselves are not strong in, well, then of course they're going to lean on their strengths, like speaking in tongues, praying, worshiping, singing, motivating. They're gonna lean on their strengths more than their weaknesses, even if their strength is useless to the viewer, to the people in the pews, right? And we could blame society, the world, the school system. I threw it on there on the whiteboard. I kind of put it over here. The schools also aren't doing the best job in the world talking about finance. But my mission, what God has called me, is serving the body, the people in churches today, and figuring out a way to bring the topic of money, these what would look like advanced high-end strategies, and breaking them down the most simplest form that a fifth grader could comprehend, that your Spanish and Black communities could adopt. And if the church's credibility and reputation would also back up these strategies, that I know for a fact would speed up the learning curve. One thing I've observed in the Black community and Spanish community is whenever there's a leader that steps up, typically we all as a group, we do follow our leaders. I do notice that. When we have certain leaders that rise up, we do tend to follow in the footsteps. Now, one of our biggest issues in the Spanish and Black community, I'll just speak to Spanish, is we typically have the wrong leaders that we look up to.
Right.
Whether it's the reggaeton singers, my favorite, Daddy Yankee, Bad Bunny, Maluma, we've got some wonderful, exciting, entertaining type folks. And I know in the Black community, y'all got that as well. We've got some people that we consider to be leaders, whether they're in Hollywood, in the music industry, in the sports industry. And boy, do we look on camera, I gotta say, right? As a whole, we look good on camera. We operate phenomenally well in our strengths. But when it comes to finance, even the richest of the richest in our communities, the wealthiest of the wealthiest, we tend to lose it all at some point. We tend to make it and lose it, make and lose it. And when I observe other communities that have maybe less spice, less salsa, less rhythm, they seem to be able to very strategically, in a unique way, pass on the wealth and the skills. I think we do a phenomenal job in the Spanish community, and I'm pretty sure the Black community would back this up. In both Spanish community, we do a great job multiplying ourselves.
There we go.
No doubt about it. We do a phenomenal job at that. We have strong genes in the Spanish and Black community, whether it ends up being in our vocal cords, how we speak, how we sing, how we talk, how we make music, right? Every culture loves our music in the Spanish and Black, like every other culture knows rap. Every other culture knows Spanish, right? But I may not know Irish music. Like, I just don't. Not to throw Irish people on the bus. I just don't know that kind of music. But I know Irish people know our music.
There
right?
you go.
So
Right.
there's things that we've got, man, that I'm proud of and I'm excited for. And if we could just get the money right, and it's not just making it, folks, it's how do we keep it and perpetuate it and have it rotate in the same community over and over and over and over again before it leaves our household economies. And I believe in the church right here, we can do it. And it's a matter of talking to the leaders. So that's what I've been doing in the last 5 years, is attracting the leaders, say pastors, ministers, deacons, bishops even, that find my channel. They reach out to me in confidence, right? And they're not publicly promoting me out there because they're still getting their things in order.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to take some time, but that has been my strategy. Talk to the leaders first, get in the rooms that I'm not even qualified to be in, but because I serve a mighty king and I'm part of a royal family that I've been adopted into, I've got this credibility and reputation that I'm leveraging from my Father in heaven here on earth. And that's what's getting me in these rooms that I don't even belong in, not even qualified in, talking to men double my age, almost triple my age, on how they can better their finances and then teach it to the community. So I've been in a couple churches so far. I've spoke inside of churches before and done whole entire day, 2-3 day masterminds in churches. And it's been a phenomenal experience, but it's going to take the leaders, not just me, because I can come in and motivate and give tangible resources. But if the leader doesn't follow up with their flock,
Right.
it's going to go in one ear and out the other. So that is my long-winded answer there. I think it's the church. The church maybe at some point was doing these things, and somewhere along the way, it just became less of a concern of money. I don't know. But I'm looking at today, and I say future looks bright. The idea of church is not just four walls and a roof. The church is in us, right? It is the body. And with the power of social media, people are accessing this type of alternative media, the podcasts, the YouTubes, the TikToks, the Instagrams, the Facebooks. And people in the church, Christians, Bible-believing folks are like, got it. I know scripture. I've read it back and forth, but man, I've got to get a perspective of money and how God's people can manage wealth here on earth and be wonderful examples to the world on how they can manage funds, right? So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm super excited about. That's going to be one of the topics in our Cash Cultures Collide that I'm going to be hitting on from the perspective of understanding jurisdiction, understanding jurisdictional finance in the church, and how we as a body in the church, we have an amazing opportunity right in front of us. There is gold right at our doors, and we're stepping over it to pick up quarters, nickels, and dimes. We're stepping over the wealth. We're just leaving the money on the table. Imagine this being this whole table being full of money, and it's literally right at the church. But the communication's not there. It looks invisible. You can't see it. So that's something that I'm going to present in this workshop in July. One of the topics that I'll be leading is understanding jurisdictional finance and how to rebuild the reputation of minority communities so that we're taken more seriously when we look and venture out into other rooms where there are other nations, so that we can have the respect that we absolutely deserve to be in those particular rooms. That's what I'm super excited for. And whether it takes me 40 years to accomplish it, or even if I never see it, I know that the reputation I'm building now on my channel alone and on others like this channel is going to set the blueprint, the path for others to eventually follow and experience that at a very young age and through their entire life.
I love it. And to expound on that idea, let's walk and talk people through some of our topics here. We have got 4 weeks, like Denzel said. In the chat, you can find that registration link. It is free. We're going to put this on first time for free. You're going to have to pay us to come to your church later to run a workshop. We'll get to that. But this first one online, of course, as we put this together and uncover these truths and make sure that we stop stepping over that big mound of wealth to pick up quarters and pennies, we want to make sure that you guys have access to this type of stuff as leaders. The first people who are going to see this and experience it live or in replay, they're going to be the leaders. They're going to be the thought leaders and the thinkers. So let's walk through each and every single week. In week 1 of 4, remember this is July 4th, Thursdays, rebuilding reputation. Week 2, teaching minority money mindset. Okay. In week 3, rediscovering purpose. And week 4, as we were just previewed, it's understanding jurisdictional finance. Now, the last couple of weeks and month, Denzel and I have come up with these topics, these experiences, and there's going to be co-creation conversations going on here. We're going to have some things that you haven't seen before. We're going to be able to ask you some topics and ask your feedback for things that maybe you want to chime into and experience. This is going to be a working seminar workshop for all those who do attend the live experience. But rebuilding reputation, as far as I know, I'm trying to remember now, I think Denzel's going to lead that one. In the second week, teaching minority money mindset, that's where I'm going to be the leader of that conversation. We'll get into a little bit about what he does, boots on the ground, because Denzel is a velocity banking master. And that's when we will walk through the 1s and 2s as well, the infinite banking concept, where I specialize. That'll be in week 2. In week 3, rediscovering purpose. Now, this one doesn't have a ton built out around it right now, but I really think that I'm going to take the lead on this one in rediscovering purpose. And during that time, I think we're going to get kind of personal. We're going to get kind of personal. We're going to be able to back up a little bit from finances and rediscover purpose as a whole person, as a family, as a leader of your family, even if it's a thought leader, right? Because you may not be the head of household. You may be a kid still in your parents' house. You may be a support system and a homemaker to someone else who's out there doing the breadwinner, but we do need to rediscover our purpose and our family communities and our personal responsibilities and lives, as Denzel was talking about, as we consider how we take dominion, right? That was what God ordained people to do. His human creations from the beginning was take dominion. So let's rediscover that purpose. And then we're going to let Denzel come back and lead us out. Take us out with a benediction on, benediction's a perfect word, right? As we get a little churchy there in that final week with understanding jurisdictional finance. And we're going to talk about different cultures, not just black, not just white. It's not about that, but how some of these other cultures, in some cases, there's cultures out there that have a big spiritual or religious community around them. The Jewish culture, right? The Jewish culture is not just a mindset. It's not just a religious group, but it's also a thought group, right? Well, what does that mean? And how do we, and what have they done? Why do you go through history, ages of God's people, the Jewish people being persecuted? Still today, obviously, it's going on. Big debates about that stuff as we're entering more wars and rumors of wars. But why do you find so many Jewish people thriving? Why is that? And why are other groups, like the minorities that we represent, when you look at us in the face, Denzel or me, why is it that we've historically floundered? Why is it we're floundering now? Is there something that they have that we don't have? Is it the kiss of God? Is it the breath of God? Or potentially are they leaving clues around here that we haven't picked up? That's what we can get into in that 4th week. So I'm very excited about that. Denzel, tell us, outside of week 4, give us a little nugget where you can on rebuilding reputation. This was your idea, I think. That one was how you started out talking to me about this idea as we were trying to collaborate on, should we co-create something? How should we do it? And who's in charge and who's not? We don't want to step on each other's toes first time working together, but rebuilding reputation, I believe, were words that came out of your mouth first. So give us a little hint about what you can bring to that conversation, what we can look forward to.
Yeah, and honestly, I was thinking that the conversation on jurisdictional finance would be my favorite thing to discuss in this workshop. But I think where God is really wanting me to just hit home is the whole idea of rebuilding reputation. And when we look at what God in heaven is most concerned about, from what I observe as it relates to his people, his promises, his covenants that he makes with mankind, is this idea of reputation. And he's always doing things for his name's sake, right? And when we look at namesake, in other words, that really means reputation. So one of the things that has made me very successful and has created shortcuts, very good shortcuts, not in the sense of a shortcut to get around the hard work, but literally just an efficiency route that just ends up getting to the destination that much faster. There are those things in life. And if I have to give one gem today, the idea of showing up early, the concept of early, what does that look like? We've heard the terms growing up, the early bird gets the worm. If you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time. I've heard those things in movies and heard my white teachers tell me that in middle school and elementary growing up. And even I'd hear it from my mom. But when it came to application, there was a disconnect. We would say things, but then we're always an hour and a half late to the party, 30 minutes late to this appointment, 30 minutes late to the doctors, and then we got to wait an extra 45 minutes. So I grew up majority of my life showing up late to things. And when I discovered the value of showing up early, let me tell you, that blew my mind. And this is like the norm in other cultures. I've had Asian friends in the past growing up, and it don't matter what kind of Asian it is. You tell them the event starts at 3 o'clock, they're there at 2:45. You tell them it starts at 7, they're there at 6:30. Every single Asian, it's like clockwork. It is a norm. It is a standard of excellence. To them, it's normal. To me, that is an excellent standard. Showing up early. And I, as a Puerto Rican Colombian, Puerto Ricans are most known for showing up late. Because our concept of showing up to a party or an event is we're the life of the party. The party don't start till we get there, right? There's these cultural differences that make us seem cool in the moment, but when it's time to actually make the wealth and protect it and perpetuate it, man, are we missing the mark tremendously. And when we show up late to things, it creates multiple other ripples of cultures, like not performing at your best, only performing when someone's watching, and not performing at your highest when no one's watching, right? Because the Father is always watching. And that's the one I'm trying to impress the most, is my Father in heaven, right? And so if I have to give people the gem right now, I'd say one of the biggest things that we'll be discussing is the concept of showing up early. And people are like, well, what's the value? Like, what? Of course I know to show up early, Denzel. Of course, Yeah, you've heard the saying and you've heard it over and over again, but I'd be willing to bet if I were to watch you for an entire day, if I was to shadow your day and to see how many things you show up late to, I think there would be a breakthrough just in that alone. And if I could put a commodity to it, a standard, if I could put $1 to every single time you show up late, and I could say, hey, you're going to miss $1,000 opportunity, a $10,000 opportunity if you don't get up on time because you hit the snooze. If you don't leave the house on time, you missed an opportunity. If you don't show up to work, you missed an opportunity, like over and over and over again. And I made a commitment early in my business when I discovered what I was missing, my friend Jeremiah, when I would not show up to time. And I'm like, that there was real money involved and I missed it. And I said, I'm making a new commitment, a new standard. I'm showing up early, not just on time, so that I get the early bird, I get the worm, I get the bag, right, early on in that particular scenario. It may not be physical, but there is spiritual wealth in the concept of showing up early. So we're going to discuss something like that in the session. And even after this is over, I got so many other cultural things that I've been adopting, observing others, and then letting go of certain reputations that I have personally, but also the Puerto Rican,
right,
ethnicity or Colombians, what we're known for, what we typically do, right? Or just Spanish community as a whole, right? That I'm letting go of certain things and adopting a kingdom culture of royalty, of respect, of credibility, of reputation.
I love it. Looking forward to that so much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a rich, rich time. And we hope that you're ready to join us as we kind of land this plane for today. We want to see you starting July 4th. It is a free workshop, and I want to talk now about everyone who's going to show up. We've talked about that minority culture, that money culture, that mindset culture, but we want to remind you that it's not just for people of color. Those of us out there who are looking at this from outside in, maybe you do want to understand the culture because you're an outsider when it comes to your skin color or something like that. But mostly this is about mindset. Let's take things back to where we first started. When I was asking Denzel about how did he come into this space, being a leader. Yesterday, we were talking on your channel, I'm sure it's in the archives now, about being the helpers. Mr. Rogers, we all know Mr. Rogers and his great neighborhood, right? A beloved community, as Martin Luther King would have said. Now, Martin Luther King wanted it to happen. He had that dream of it happening in real America. Mr. Rogers did his best to make sure it happened with puppets and things like that, all right? That's a little bit different, but he did have a great community in his wonderful neighborhood. But Mr. Rogers, as soft-spoken and mild-mannered of a man he was, he's got this great little quote and story attributed to him. I've heard it once or twice about when he was a boy, he saw something crazy happening on TV. Maybe it was an emergency, maybe it was in his town, and something happened, and he was with his mother, and he was nervous, scared, a little confused about the commotion. And his mom said, don't you worry. When things go bad, always look for the helpers. When people are running away from the problem, look at the people running toward the problem or toward the solution. Look for the helpers. And that's what we can do. And that's what we help with here. Having a positive money mindset, a relationship to wealth, a connection to your purpose is for everybody. So we want to make sure that everyone feels welcome and is invited here as we parcel out as members of different communities. I'm in the community of South Carolina, the community of Greenville. I'm in the community of Black America. All these, I'm in the community of financial virtual advisors, not traditional financial planning, but a virtual advisor when it comes to infinite banking. I'm in lots of different communities, and so are you. So everyone is welcome to be a part of this conversation, to learn from other people and understand what dominion looks like. A culture of control, as we said several times yesterday. That's what brings us together, because our money, our mindset, our families, our communities don't have to be out of control. Doesn't have to be chaos. But we need to go back to the source. And if we can agree on some of that source material and that foundation, we're going to be able to build something great together for humanity and kingdom come, as they say. So why don't you take us home here, Denzel? Tell us the last few words about how excited you are about this experience, and remind everybody where we can find you on your normal and typical channels and how they can move forward with you if they want to talk to you more about coaching, about one-on-one and have conversations in your world.
Absolutely. So For those of you that have got tremendous value here today and you're in the marketplace for a financial coach, a consultant, someone that's just going to have conversations with you. Think of a therapist or a psychologist that you go to just discuss ideas. Maybe you're not necessarily looking for an answer. Sometimes it's just conversations that need to be had before we make a decision or an investment on something. That's where I thrive. And on top of that, I'm providing strategy because I'm really a results-driven kind of a guy. I'm not someone that you're just going to waste time having a conversation with, but I'm going to throw in the conversation and the strategy, put something together and hold you accountable. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Denzel Napoleon Rodriguez. Okay, you type that in, I'll pop right up, or search Velocity Banking. I'll pop right up as well. And for this particular workshop that we've been spending a lot of time, Jeremiah and I, putting this together, I'm really excited about. We got two leaders coming together in alignment from different worlds, different environments, different cultures, but we get to collaborate to see both nations rise, right? And there's many things that we share in common that I think we can speak to and relate to at different capacities that is going to bring you, the viewer, the utmost amount of value. So I'm super excited about that. And really, this is like an experiment because has this been done before? Not really, right? I mean, where can you go to learn how to release certain cultures that are not profitable in your neighborhood, in your home, and adopt kingdom culture? Where can you go? The churches I attend, all I'm getting is biblical Bible knowledge, which is not a bad thing. I think it's important for us to understand biblical knowledge, biblical history. But where I think we're missing the mark in the body is biblical application of financial, or I should say kingdom financial strategies in 2024. Not what happened 2,000 years ago in our agricultural context. Mm-hmm. How do I bring that into modern city context? How do I bring that into internet, social media, AI context? There is the connection. And that wonderful book written by our Father in heaven can show us the way. And there are people that are online considered outsiders, outcasts, that will almost never get invited into those stages in the churches, right? And to speak in those pulpits unless you have a certain status. And that's where the church, I think, is falling short. That we need to be willing to bring in some speakers that can speak to this information. So what's going to happen is, guess what's happened to the church? It's gone outside of its four walls, right? If you understand Bible knowledge and Bible history and the times that we're in, we're in the age of Gentiles. We're in the end of the church age. So the church is evolving, expanding, and looking different. And those who know what to do will know how to position themselves properly to receive blessings that are available, right? One of the biggest takeaways that I have received over the years is, God doesn't want me dead, and God doesn't want me poor. I don't know where in Scripture God has ever wanted me to be poor, and I don't know in Scripture where God wants me to die early or before or as soon as possible. I don't know where those cultures got adopted in the body, in the church, but right now, from the information I'm receiving, whether it's directly from the Father, Holy Spirit, or looking at the Word or discussing with other believers, I've come to the conclusion God doesn't want me dead. God doesn't want me broke. He wants me here. He wants me to expand the kingdom here for the rest of my days here. There is no retirement in my strategy. Okay, I'm done when God says, good job, I don't need you no more. It's time to go. I'm like, great. Thank you so much. It's been an honor serving you, and I can't wait to serve you in the next life. Okay, that's my idea. That's my philosophy. That's my way of being, and I hope to interact with you all that want to develop this conviction, this stance that you're going to do it no matter what. You're going to create the success no matter what. You're going to take all your blood, sweat, and tears, all this trauma you got. We're going to turn your mess into the best message on social media, inspire millions, if not billions of people. And I can't wait to help facilitate that. That's what I'm most excited for, among many other things. I'm going to be a student. Even though I'm leading as a leader in this environment, I'm also going to be a student. I'm going to be taking a back seat sometimes and hearing what Jeremiah has to say. And I want to hear you speak as well. I want you guys to interact. This will be an interactive workshop. And even after this is complete, we're not going anywhere. Cash Compound ain't going nowhere. It's growing. And my channel ain't going nowhere. I was talking to Jeremiah. He's like, this is it, man. This is what I'm doing. I'm not going nowhere else. And me too. Next 40 plus years, still hear me talking about financial coaching, planning and strategy and velocity and infinite and such on and kingdom authority. This is what it is. All right. Until it becomes kingdom language, normal, right? In your household, it's just the language we speak. Kingdom, success, wealth, perpetuation, legacy, and we can add all the other wonderful things that we have: our rhythm, our foods, our taste, our characteristics, our integrity, our big families, right? And have all these other things that these other nations have. It's possible. So I'm excited, man. Thank you so much again for having me.
Can't wait to get to it, ladies and gents. Well, we want you to be a part of it. Once again, join us. It's a free workshop. Okay, this seminar, this interactive experience, one of our first runs, a prototype run at Cash Cultures Collide. That's what we're doing right here on the Banking Bros and the Cash Compound channels. You can register with the link below. And Denzel, appreciate you coming on our Ask Me Anything hour and taking over in July. Look forward to all that you're going to bring, and our people are going to be very much blessed by it. Thank you for being with us today, ladies and gentlemen. Denzel, we'll catch you in July.
Thank you, everyone. God bless. Talk soon.